Traffic jams have become a part of Mumbai's identity, almost like Bollywood or Vada Pav. But for Mumbaikars, the fight for space continues even at home, where 60% of the population accommodates itself on just 6 to 8% of the city's land. Hey, we really need to give each other some space here. This week, Whack and Epify tell you the why and the how of Mumbai's perpetual space crunch. Mumbai was originally made up of 7 islands: Bombay, Colaba, Little Colaba, Mahim, Mazgaon, Parel and Worli. Starting in the 1860s, most of the bits of sea between the islands was reclaimed, forming one narrow island city which was connected to the mainland through a set of creeks. The southern tip of the city became the seat of British authority in the city, with the establishing of the Colaba cantonment. When we took over after independence, the state government moved and occupied the same buildings that the British had built and used. But by the 1960s, the crowd and businesses had started to build up in this cramped southern tip of the city. So architect Charles Correa came up with the idea of New Bombay, a satellite town on the mainland. Charles figured that then New Bombay could expand freely towards the east with all of India as its backyard. At this point, if we had let professional planners take over the planning of the city, Mumbai would have grown up to be much cleaner and greener. For a while, everybody liked Charles's idea. Even the state government went along with it and decided to shift its offices from Fort to New Bombay. Till they were like, hey, actually, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. Instead, the government, along with 5 builders, the makers, the Dalamals, the Rahejas, the Mittals, and the Tulsianis, took over most of the scarce land in the island city and started to develop it commercially. These builders got hold of prime real estate in a part of the city where there was no more land to develop. This meant that the demand would always be greater than the supply, and their property prices would keep rising. And keep rising they did, all the way till Nariman Point became the 5th most expensive office space in the world, sometime in the early 2000s. But more importantly, it oriented the city along its narrow north-south axis. While 60% of the people lived in the northern suburbs, 72% of the jobs were in the South Island city. All those millions had to commute through the same narrow central city to get to work downtown. And so began the story of Mumbai, the eternally congested city, where commuting between home and work would take up to 4 hours a day. You could either choose to pay huge sums and live closer to work, or spend the rest of your life traveling. That was the choice that we were handed by our urban planners. For the really desperate, the last resort is illegal buildings and slums. Life here was no vacation. These people paid a price for staying out of the system, bribing all kinds of police and officials. That's pretty much how Dharavi got Asia's largest slum. Of course, you don't need to squat anywhere if you are Mukesh Ambani, and you can afford property rates of up to $5,000 per square foot. The rich guys manage to build themselves palatial homes with all the extra space that they will ever need, while the illegal underbelly literally lives in their shadows. Things have changed for the better in the last few years with the development of the Bandra Kurla complex as an alternate business district. It has managed to take some of the sheen off South Mumbai as an office destination, which was the whole idea when BKC was planned and constructed by the Mumbai Metropolitan Regional Authority, or the MMRDA. The new airport in New Bombay should also divert a lot of traffic from the western suburbs where the airport is now. Also, the coastal road, which will carry traffic over the sea from Nariman Point to the northern suburbs, that should ease some congestion. But hey, it did take them 15 years to build the Bandra-Worli Sea Link. So we really can't do much but wait and watch. So that's it from us at Whack and Epify. Thanks for watching. And if you're cramped in Mumbai, at least give your thoughts some air. Subscribe and comment below. We have a lot of room to spare.
And Cartier makes one of the biggest pieces of jewelry ever in the history of Cartier for this Maharaja. Now that must have cost him like shitloads of money, right?
To this day, sighting of a moon known as Eid Ka Chand marks the end of Ramzan. It is therefore a day of feasting and happiness. The festival is called Eid ul Fitr,